what day is today? Saturday? Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday morning, where we are bringing you Brunches and Dragons live. This morning we are playing with a brand new character, but an old player. Y'all have, if y'all join us every Tuesday, you'll recognize the gentleman who plays Harlech. But he's brought a new character to the board today. And for those of you who did not watch last Sunday's Brunches and Dragons, what we are going to be doing today is the player has brought a brand new character that I've never seen before. And because this player and I talk offline about all kinds of characters, theoretically this is a player we haven't actually, in the past, this player and I created the Great Mage Steve. So he didn't bring the Great Mage Steve today. He brought somebody new. The point of that being that the first time that I'm going to hear any particulars about this character will be right now in this stream. And then my job will be to try and come up with a story that is entertaining for the next 2 hours. As I've been explaining to my players, it might not have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but it'll be some kind of story. This has been in the past a particular challenge of mine. And I mentioned this in yesterday's stream with Broken Bane, where they went left instead of right. And I ended up making up 2 hours worth of content with 4 players, which I can tell you is much more difficult than making up content with 1 player. So today's stream will look a little different because than yesterday's, if you watched that, because that had to balance 4 players and be sort of game-ish. The intent of the Brunches and Dragons is to do more collaborative storytelling, even though I run my games collaboratively. It's more of an emphasis on the role-playing and the storytelling part. So the players know this, hopefully. You knew that, right? Yeah, he's nodding. Okay. The players theoretically know this, and we jump into it together, and we're hoping it'll be entertaining? I don't know. You think it's going to be entertaining?
Yeah, probably.
Now, I have known this gentleman for an extremely long time. I believe the first time we sort of met and engaged was at a bar. And I think I was busy trying to drink you under the table and beat you at pool, I think is what was happening.
I know we met shortly before that,
Wow.
but I don't think we talked much.
Yeah, that's fair. So that's how I know this dude. And we've been playing, we've known each other for a very long time. He was the best man at my wedding. On my side of the board, not on my husband's side. I had a best man. And what?
The matron of honor, I believe is the correct term. Because I was married. I wasn't a maid.
Right, that's true. Yes, you were my matron of honor. And then, yeah, we've been playing D&D together for a very long time as well, which is super fun, I think, at least. Now I will hand it off to the player and he can introduce himself. Tell us all about yourself, sir.
Hello, I am Glenn. I started playing role-playing games. The first time I think was junior high, and I was hooked shortly thereafter. I've been playing whenever I got the chance, which I don't generally get to enough for the remaining years since then. I have tons of books. I consider them collections at this point because I haven't played half of them. I do digital drawing for a company in Chicago.
That's exciting.
Yay. That's I'm supposed to go on to my character, yeah? Or is that a little bit later?
No, I think that's okay. So what we're going to do now is I want you to describe your character however you see fit. If we end up for the next 2 hours basically just talking about cool character mechanics, I'm completely fine with that. If you really want to get into the...
I don't know that I can go 2 hours, but I go a while.
You know what I mean? But if you want to really get into the way the color of his eyes reflect the moonlight back, then we can go in that direction as well.
I don't know that I'm that poetic.
Yeah, I know.
We'll see.
We'll see. You've got hidden depths. So yeah, I know. So yeah, tell me about this character. What are we looking at today?
Uh, so he is a Goliath.
Hmm.
His name is Pastra, Restless, Velneval. Um,
Okay.
so I looked into Goliath society a bit, the little that there is written about it. They all get nicknames at some point given by, I think it's the tribal leader.
Hmm.
And given the personality that I wanted to go with him, I went with Restless because it works okay.
Okay.
Couldn't come up with a better one. Um, Pastra is probably pretty average. He's 7-ish feet. I think I've got that written down somewhere actually. 7-ish feet, about average weight for a Goliath. Uh, Generally doesn't wear a shirt,
Okay.
um, just because if you're used to the mountains and the cold weather, not being in the mountains, why bother with things like clothing?
Sure. That makes sense. Yep.
Um, so the concept was essentially that Pastra was uh, Goliath society is really regimented and focused on survival
Yep.
because they live in the cold, snowy mountains and they don't have a lot of chance to screw up because then people just die. As in, if you get to a point where you're old and being a drag on the tribe, you're exiled. You're
Okay.
like, it's kind of a mutual like, all right, you're now a drag on resources, and we can't have that. Uh, we're gonna like sing your praises, and then you leave.
Where do they
Bye.
go?
I mean, they trek off into the waste and probably die.
What if what if somebody like loses a limb?
If you can still be useful, you're kept.
Interesting. What's the definition of
Um,
useful?
I mean, if you're still contributing more than you're taking from the tribe itself.
So there is like an amount of usefulness.
Kind of, yeah. Like if you start having to be carried places, etc. I mean, they're going to be like, well, we can't really keep this up.
So in this society, I would have to sort of army crawl off into the wilderness and die because I have to be carried everywhere.
I mean, if they're stationary, if they're not stationary, they may just like be like, okay, so it's been a good run.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go to the next spot.
Bye, have fun.
You want this knife?
Cool. This sounds like a great society.
I mean, they're so one of the big things about Goliath society is that if you like, they constantly want to get better and be better.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them die at before they hit old age because if they start declining, like that's terrible. So they want to die in glory rather than slowly get worse and die,
They'd rather die in battle rather than
or something of the sort.
in their
Yeah,
sleep kind of thing. Yeah.
they'd rather die at their peak
Mm-hmm.
than decline.
It's an
So
interesting mentality. Yeah. Okay.
they're very fair. They're very like magnanimous. Mostly, they don't. The sexes aren't generally delineated, um, but like they're all about if you're not gonna. If, they're all about competition and success and getting better and fair fights and things like that. Um, why Pastra was different is he liked the thrill of things. He liked he was even more towards competition or the sort like he wanted to do fun stuff.
Okay.
And fun stuff isn't a real big Goliath thing.
So
Uh,
he didn't necessarily want to do work. He wanted to do the games side.
so he got by okay because he was good. Like
Okay.
he was good at stuff. But as soon as he was done with like his mandatory minimum, he'd be like, "Okay, I'm gonna go climb that rock."
Right. Okay. Okay.
He'd be like, "But there's more stuff to do." Like, "Yeah, but that rock is really high, and that's cool. I want to be on top of that rock."
Okay. Did he like
Um,
audiences? Like, did he want people to watch him climb the rock, or did he just want to climb the rock?
I mean, I don't think that was a huge draw for
Mm-hmm.
him. Like it, he would see like this is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
You could try this. It's fun. You should climb up to the top of the rock with me. Or like maybe you just look at how I do it, and then maybe you could do it different or whatever.
Okay.
Um, so I kind of designed Pastra as like a extreme sports dude or something like that. He is a guy who wants to go do crazy stuff for fun.
Okay. All right. I think that makes sense. Okay. What
At
else
some
could?
point,
Yeah.
when he was like he got to about adult age, ended up interacting with a couple of travelers, like happens in Goliath tribes a bit. There are a few different. Usually, it's not very common for them to get gas, but they don't really mind gas. There's a few mentions of like they consider Earth Gensai kind of like cousins. Um,
Genasi?
sure, yeah,
Yep.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Sorry.
Um, apparently they're a little afraid of elves, something about their longevity, but I just recently read that. Um, so there's a somebody who comes and maybe trades, or maybe they're just exploring,
Mm-hmm.
came and visited the village and moved on, but they talked a lot about their different lands and some things that they did, and he's like, you know what, I don't think I should stay here. There's just snow and rocks and mountain and work, so I'm just gonna go.
Okay.
We're cool. Like, not gonna I'm not gonna be a drag on you guys. I'm just gonna like say my piece and skedaddle.
Run away. Yeah.
So said his goodbyes and just started walking down the mountains.
Okay.
And that's kind of where we're gonna pick up. He's gonna like have trekked off into faraway lands that are no longer mountains, looking for cool, crazy stuff to do. Um,
Okay.
he,
So he's looking
I
for. He's a thrill seeker. He's looking for something that will test his endurance and his skill. That part of the fun of it for him might be that there's danger involved. When he climbs the really high rock, he's not making sure he's tying off on pythons. He's just climbing the really high rock. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, like he wouldn't necessarily remember that he should be taking safety precautions. Be
Mm-hmm.
like, oh yeah, I guess that was dangerous, but it was still cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I I classed him as a barbarian, but my thought is that that's going to be like an adrenaline thing.
Oh,
So he's
instead of
going
a
to psych
ragey thing.
himself up and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, let's go.
I like that. That works. Okay. So he's how long ago do you think it was that he left his home tribe?
I gave him the far traveler background because I get that made some sense. He's from a weird tribe in the middle of nowhere. But I guess it depends on how far he's gotten. I don't think I'd give it more than a couple of years if we wanted to pick up first level.
Yeah. And when you say it's a weird tribe, is there anything other than the way they deal with old people that's weird about them?
I mean, Goliath don't react a lot like other people.
The
They
way that I've dealt with Goliaths and Azinlia is that they're very tribal. They're not like the villages that they live in. The people that are welcome there are mostly Goliaths. It's very rare that they allow other types of people to move in, but they're not. I try not to do too much like they actively hate other races. I try not to deal with that too much at Azinlia. So is that okay if we kind of don't do that part of what
I
the way
mean,
Goliaths are written?
what I haven't read that they hate other races. They probably wouldn't let people move in, but that's because the people wouldn't have any capability of keeping up with the tribal
Right,
society, and then they'd be like, "Yeah, go away.
right, and
Thanks for visiting."
right, and Goliaths are very like they're very large and they're very physical, right? Or at least is that what Pastra is? He's
Yeah, they're generally pretty large. They're
mm-hmm,
generally pretty strong, but they're also, as a society,
mm-hmm.
they're hugely into fair play. So There
Okay.
was an example I saw that was like, if a Goliath disarms someone, it is not uncommon for that Goliath to throw down their weapon and continue the fight.
Right.
You're like,
Got it.
haha, all right, let's do this another way.
So it's not about killing your opponent, it's about besting your opponent.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about having the better victory. They're very anti-cheating, etc., but that's about it.
Fair enough. Okay. Um and when Pastra left his tribe, was he seeking out new thrills, new cultures, new adventure? Like what was kind of his impetus? Can we define that a little bit better?
So I think his thought process was that he was seeking out excitement because
Okay.
he had
He was
lived out
bored.
about as much as he could do
Climbed all the big
in this little
rocks,
village.
done the whole thing. Yeah.
Um, but I think it quickly turned into like, wow, this is completely new.
Okay.
There's trees and what's that furry thing and surfing. I don't know. He
Okay. So I have a couple more questions. Give me 1 second because I have to look something up. Um, does he? I'm gonna write these down because I'm gonna forget them. Does he look? Is there anything about the way he looks that stands out? Like, does he have
uh
any
different
kinds
than a
of?
Goliath.
Yeah. So what color is his skin? And
It's kind
does
of a ruddy gray.
does he have
Uh,
any? No, go ahead.
Apparently that's fairly common. They usually have
Okay.
either gray or brown, and figured he'd be grayish, but
Sure.
probably a little bit. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
And so
Go
he's
ahead.
not wearing a shirt, but does he? Is he wearing like a kilt or like leather pants or
He
like
probably
the
has some
bottom of a
sort of like
suit?
leather
Like what's he
pants.
look like? Leather pants. Okay.
Maybe some furs, but I don't imagine he'd need them very often. It's just probably a little typical for
Hmm.
him to get furs as either exchange or uh, make new leather stuff or something.
And does he have hair that just stands on end, or is he completely bald?
It is typical for male Goliath to be bald. He is
Okay.
bald.
Now is this something he has to maintain, or he just is bald?
I didn't see anything about them growing hair, so I
So no
think it
beards or
kind of
mustaches.
varies.
Just okay.
I
Well,
mean,
make a choice. Do you want him to have hair? Do you want him to have a big old mustache? What would you like?
he probably wouldn't be keeping it up very well, but I don't imagine they'd be bald as a I don't know. Whatever. Let's go with the like definitely uh top of head bald. Probably has kind of a rotation of facial hair just because he probably doesn't shave very often.
We'll call it a 5 o'clock shadow for now.
Sure.
And what color is that beard?
Um, when I originally thought of him with hair, I was thinking something fairly snowy, so maybe like an off-white, like a super light blonde or something.
Okay. And does he have any tattoos? Is he wearing any big like metal bracers on his arms? Does he have any intricate jewelry?
He does have a charm necklace from his that's just like left over from his tribe that is kind of his only keepsake. Um, it does seem like uh, Goliaths are into what would look like tribal tattoos
Mm-hmm.
in our thing. He
Mm-hmm.
probably does have some of those. There is also mention of dark patches. I don't know if that's the same thing,
Okay. So
but
where would you imagine that Posture has these tattoos? Would they be mostly on his arms, his chest, his face, the back of his head?
I feel like given the type of society, they'd be something that would evolve over time.
Mm-hmm. So
So
you
he probably
and
has
he's fairly
fairly
young.
sparse.
Yeah, because he's young. Okay.
Maybe maybe a few small ones across the arms, maybe across the chest and back, and
Mm-hmm.
that might be it.
For now. Yeah, okay. That's a good way to tell in that society how old or experienced they are. As you garner experiences, you get to add to the tattoos.
That makes sense
Okay.
for the type of society is.
Okay, and the charm, he has a charm necklace, or so what kind of charms? Are they like wooden? Are they carved out of ivory or stone?
It's probably like a leather string.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, at this point, so to give you a preview, I imagine this will, since I intend to make him a totem barbarian. I think this is where his totems are going to go on this
Okay.
necklace. So it's a leather string or whatever you're going to call that, and probably just like a stone charm on it. So it's pretty simple right now.
What's the stone charm carved into?
Like what's the stone or what's the
Both. Yeah.
carving?
Yeah. Both.
Uh, well, you'd want something that's gonna last and probably fairly mountainy. Maybe like maybe like a granite or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something pretty heavy, pretty maybe on the nicer side, but still a rock. Um, hmm. Let's make the carving like a fire or something. Something that's important to the society as a culture in frozen waste. Fire makes sense.
Got it. Okay. Um, Now, when he is seeking excitement, is he seeking to prove his fighting skills against an opponent? Is he seeking to climb the highest mountain? Is he seeking to plumb the depths of the ocean? Like what's he looking at? Has he ever seen the ocean?
Uh, that depends how close the mountains are to the ocean.
So in Azinlia, the mountains cut across both continents, both main continents. So if he's from the mountains like in the middle of the continent, he wouldn't have seen the oceans.
All right, I'd say it's more interesting for him to have not seen it yet.
Good, because I have an idea, and that fits in really well with that idea.
Uh, I think
Excuse me, so sorry.
he's more interested in new than in a particular type of excitement.
Okay. So if he heard about something that had never been seen before, would he want to go see it? Or if he had heard about something that no one knew how to deal with, and they needed somebody to go deal with it, would that be more attractive?
Um, it would partly be, does it sound interesting to him? And it would partly be like, I think he's given his background and his interest level. I think if somebody says like, "Oh, there's this crazy thing that no one seems to be able to deal with," he'd be like, "Okay,
Okay.
let's go try dealing with that."
As opposed
Or
to as opposed to the myth of a subterranean, the myth of a stronghold that has become a subterranean space that was once the glory of the, gosh shit, what did I name those, the Kellis Mountains.
I think that would interest him,
Mm-hmm.
but given where he came from, I think something that needs to get done that other people can't handle would be more pressing in his own way. Be like, "Oh, yeah, okay, well, that should get dealt with, and it sounds interesting. I'll do that."
Okay,
But I'm
now,
gonna go over there if I the other place if I can.
uh-huh,
It's
uh-huh.
just like that's fun.
All right. So, do you think that we are in, like, if we're gonna start in a location? Do you think, does he frequent like inns and bars to pick up news? Is he seeking out the stable yards where competitions are done? Is he looking for, like, where does he like pick up the hot goss?
I see him as a quite a wanderer,
Mm-hmm.
and he will just kind of strike up conversation and talk to people
Okay.
because he doesn't really understand personal space the same way. But
Traditionally, that is done in like inns and bars and stuff. Is that all right?
yes, I don't think he would be opposed to like hitting a bar, but he probably doesn't have a hangout because
Well, he's
he gets
moving all the
bored
time.
quickly.
Yeah, he's moving all the time, right? So what I'm looking for is if a bar is something he would walk into, do we think that today we're gonna tell a story from the point of view where this is the first time he's walking into a bar after he left his tribe, or it's you said it's been a couple years?
If it's been a couple years, he probably understands the concept of the local watering hole.
Okay.
Maybe not well, but well enough.
So let's say you are sitting at a bar midday, which is not usually when the farmers are in the bars in this part of the world. You're down in farming country, so it's right on the edge of a very large forest that you've just tromped all the way through. And you haven't seen mountains in a while, and you've been hearing that you're getting pretty close to the ocean. Does that sound all right?
Yeah.
You are, as far as you can reckon, you are about as far away from where you started as you've been so far. So you are heckin' far out there. You've never crossed an ocean at this point. You've been wandering around this continent for a while. You know there's another
That
continent over
sounds
there.
like an adventure.
Yep.
Crossing a huge body of water.
Yeah. And you are. Can we say that you are particularly bored? Nothing interesting has happened in a while? Does that sound?
I mean, if I'm in farmland, probably particularly bored.
So
Yeah.
you're really just passing through. You haven't been hanging out. So you haven't made any relationships here. Okay, so you've been sitting at this bar for long enough that you have mowed down on a noon meal and you're finishing up an ale? Is that something Pastra would drink? Okay.
He probably would be like, "Do you have anything interesting to drink?"
There we go. Okay, and so the bartender will have given you like a what sure, and he kind of rummages around and is like picks up a bottle that has a bunch of dust on it and he's like 1 silver,
Bing.
and he's like, all right, he pops the cork out and it like breaks off and he's like, and he's mumbling and he's digging a dagger out and he ends up plunking the cork down into the bottle instead of getting it out. And he's muttering and he's like, so he pours it into a glass and he sees that there are some cork chunks in there and he just digs in and flicks them out and then he gives you the glass.
All right. Strange customs here. Cheers.
Sorry, must coordinate dog shenanigans.
Woo. Dog shenanigans.
Yes, my husband must go pick up his birthday/Christmas present, which means he's leaving me here with all of the pets. I know. Okay, so you say strange customs. He shrugs nonchalantly and goes back to the conversation he was having. Now, how observant is Pastra, and how you said he's not real good with personal space. How likely is he to just eavesdrop on whatever is happening around him?
I think it is exactly equivalent to how bored he is. So
Super
pretty
bored.
likely in this position.
Great. Okay.
Like,
Perfect.
so
So the
I
bartender.
just noticed you're talking about something, people.
Yeah. So the bartender turns to the guy who's talking to you and he's like, so as I was saying, it's terrorizing the ocean lanes around here. And the guy's like, really? And the bartender's like, yeah, I haven't been able to get a good case of beer in a while. And the guy's talking
The
to
ocean
us.
has lanes?
And the bartender looks at he's like, you know, yeah, like, shipping lanes and stuff like that. Yeah. And he turns back to the guy who's talking to him and he's like, and so I haven't been able to get good custom in here in a while. And so I'm not going to be able to get you fancy ass cheese you like?" And the guy's like, "Well, that's a damn shame. My wife's anniversary's coming up soon, and she makes the meanest pies with that stuff." So they're kind of going back and forth about the usual kvetching about the world these days, and every time you turn around there's some new monster harassing us honest fellas and things like that. You think Pastra would poke his nose in at all?
Oh yeah. It's just
What does that look
thinking
like?
about how he might do it.
Yeah. So they keep.
Uh,
Well, let me. I can keep kvetching out loud, and maybe I'll give you an opening. Yeah, they say that. I don't know how likely this is, but one guy I heard from, because I was down in the city, picking up stuff, and the other guy's like, "Oh, I know," and it's like, and I heard them saying it was as big as a ship, like one of those, big ships. And the guy goes like a 2-master, 3-master, and he's like, "Yeah, like one of these as big as that." And where did this thing come from? So I feel like maybe they got hit by pirates, maybe, and they just don't know what they're talking about. And the guy at the bar is like, I don't know. The pirates tend to be a little farther south, and if this is up in the straits, then those are fairly narrow for pirates. They gotta have like some wiggle room, so it might be a critter. Maybe they just made it out to be bigger than it seems. And the bartender's like, yeah, maybe. Man, it'd be nice to go see that, though. Wouldn't it be interesting if we just didn't have our lives tying us down? The old ball and chain got me. The closest thing I can do to traveling is getting out to the city now and again. But dang, it'd be nice. And they start reminiscing now about the heydays. These guys are a little long in the tooth.
good, good people.
They kind of look around in
You,
confusion. Me? What? Yes.
your story interests me. Um, Perhaps we can do each other a favor. Perhaps, if this is indeed a critter, and you needed to break through some sort of trade, correct?
Yeah.
I heard something about a pie. Very good pie. That could be interesting. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, my
if I
wife,
were
she makes,
to
yeah.
go and I can't guarantee that I'd kill it, but maybe I could kill it. Uh, I may just succeed in driving it off. That's a possibility. But if I kill it, then I could bring it back here so that you both could see it. And
I'm,
then maybe you could give me a pie for my trouble.
the bartender kind of looks at you like, we don't, I mean, you can do what you like, young man. We give no never mind about it. And, the guy that he was talking to goes, well, now, there might be some kind of reward. And the bartender's like, I think I did hear those fellas talking about putting together a party, to go off and you might check in the next town over. There's a city down the way called Wald. Strange folk, but you might be able to find a group down there that might be heading out.
All right, I will check. Do I gather from your comments that you do not need to see the monster?
The bartender
I wouldn't
says,
want to deprive someone of the experience.
the bartender grabs the weird bottle he'd picked up and he's like, friend, if you bring us back some sort of monster thing, you can have this whole thing wine, and I'll make you 8 pies.
8 pies. They should all be different.
All right,
Excellent idea. All right then, I'll go.
great.
Stands up immediately, goes out.
Bye. And they're both like, never gonna see that guy again. So Wald is directly south of this spot you're at. Now we visited Wald in a couple of my games, but this is before times. So Wald in this time period is not the massive sprawling city that you're familiar with, but it is a shipping point. It's still got the docks and things. So when you roll in, the walls are maybe only a story high, and there's like one dude on the gate, and he says, "Business."
I'm here to find a monster hunting party.
Oh, you're here for the dragon turtle?
Sure,
Yeah, go on.
whatever it is.
Go down and find the okay, the first inn name that pops into my head might be inappropriate.
Huh.
Do
Eh?
would would the Lickin' Spoon be an inappropriate name for an inn?
Uh, no, it wouldn't. It's just in this particular context outside of the game, it could be
Right.
considered awkward.
I think we're gonna go for it though, unless you're terribly uncomfortable with it.
No, that's real funny.
The way I was thinking about it was the food is so good.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense for an in name,
Uh huh.
unless there's somebody named Spoon.
Right.
Then it's weird.
Yeah. All right. Let's go with a different one
So
then.
maybe not an employee named Spoon in
Right.
that particular. That could be weird.
There would no. I'm never gonna name an NPC spoon. That would be a little too tongue in cheek. Why don't we call it? Why don't we call it the parsley and rose?
Sure,
Yeah. Okay.
sounds fancy.
It does sound fancy. No, it's gonna sound fancy. It's gonna be fancy. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Sounds fancy. Okay. So he gives you directions. And he says, if you get to the docks, you've gone too far. Yeah, get on with you. And he kind of like lingers with his hand out, you know,
I shake it.
and he shakes it back and goes
Good
back to
day.
his post. So I don't think you're real good at cities, but the Wald is kind of on a hill, so you can see the docks pretty much through gaps in the buildings and stuff. And
Okay,
in
that
the
way, but not
yeah,
all the way that way.
right. So you make it. You make it down to. There's an area in front of the docks that kind of opens up. It's not quite like a clearing, and it's all paved cobblestones. But it's clear that this might be where they pull a ship up to dry dock it. So you're further down from the main docks. This is where they kind of like beach the ships and stuff to do work on them. And so I'll actually take back my cobblestone. I think there's probably like beach here, not fun beach, but like a working beach. And you can see
That's
that
probably
there.
pretty fascinating for me.
Yep. There's actually a beached ship right now, and there's a big old hole in the bottom of it, and you can see that they're laying in new wood to patch that, and they're cutting out jagged edges from one side. You can see the other side where they've laid in the new wood and joined the wood together, and there's some other guys like slapping the waterproofing on it. There's one guy. He is skinny as a beanpole, and his face is the brightest red you've ever seen in the world. And he is hollering something fierce, and everybody around him is just going about their business. But he is hollering like they're not moving fast enough. But from what you can tell, they're moving fast enough. And yeah, he's probably gonna have a heart attack before he's 50. Now, between this and where the ships dock at, you can see these little houses that seem to be like stuck off the edge of the cliff. And hang on. Must resolve continuity.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. So, you could. Yeah, I can make that work. So you see these like little shacky type buildings that have like two of their of the corners of the buildings go down into the water, and those are sort of along the edge of the coast as you make your way towards the where the ships are actually docking in at. And so you actually come at the docks with the docks completely on your left and the rest of the city on your right. So you probably did pass the Parsley and Rose, and you're probably going to have to ask somebody for directions. So when you get down to the docks area, it is all hustle and bustle. There are carts unloading and loading ships. The docks are massive. You could take a whole cart down right up to a ship, and there are these huge ships docking pretty close in, which is unusual.
Talking like a country boy, probably getting in the way.
Yeah. And you're big, so like people are. So how about this? I'm gonna use a trope. Guy with a huge beam balanced very precariously on his shoulder, and it's big enough that it kind of blocks his view. Somebody calls to him, and he whips around, and it thunks into your side because he's about that short. And he swings back around to holler at you, and the other end comes whipping at you. You think you'd catch that? What's your dex look like?
My dex is 13.
What'd
I'd probably grab it and pick it up if I got it. Just like, what's your trouble, sir?
And he's like, yeah, what? Yes. Well, I'm sorry, sir. Can I have
No trouble.
that back again?
You want me to just... Here you go.
And he takes it and he kind of lays it down and he's like, I'm real sorry. And he's kind of like looking you over for damage because he thunked into you pretty hard. But I don't think that would do much to you. What do you think?
No.
Nope. And so he's like, we good here? You know, and he's very apprehensive. It's very clear that he thinks you're about to pound him into the dust. And he's...
Oh, yeah. Didn't mean to interrupt. Go about your chores or whatever.
You new around here? You need something? Because you look kind of out of place.
Oh, do I look new?
Yeah. Because
yes.
This dude's all city dressed, got the newsboy cap, you know, and he's got the, gloves on and boots and things. He's all ready to do what he's doing.
Well, if you have a moment, I am looking for the rose and parsley and...
Oh, parsley rose. Yeah, that's just up the way. And he kind of looks at you and he's like, yeah, that, you sure that's what you're looking for?
No.
All right. Well, yeah. So Parsley Rose is, you can't miss it. It's the biggest inn down in these parts. It's for all those, well, and he like puts his nose in the air, which like fancy governors and stuff, the yes sirs and yes ma'ams of the world. You know what I mean?
No.
He like plucks at the front of his vest and he's like, and he puts his thumbs in it and like tries to look all puffed up and fancy. He's like, and he like struts around in a little circle and some other guy laughs at him and he's like, "Shut up, bud." And yeah.
I don't think Pastra has ever seen more than maybe one or two of these people, so he just probably doesn't really know what he's talking. He's like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking for some peoples that are going to go look into some sort of creature up in what was it? Something the northern lanes or something.
Are you one of those monster hunters? 'Cause they're putting a party together for somebody said there's a dragon living in the ocean up in the straits, and they're breaking up all the shipping lanes. Yeah, it's been a big problem. They're putting together a party. Some duke or something is putting together a party. Was that what you're... Yeah, that's up at the Parsley and Rose. Yeah, you're going to the right place. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to see a dragon. That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, so there's a sign. It's got a big rose, then some green bush thing, which I suppose is parsley. Outside. You can't miss it. Can't miss it.
Just
right up there. Yeah, right up there. So he's pointing to your right because you've made it down to like the main area where like carriages are dropping off and stuff. And so there's a big sort of main road going straight up Wald's Middle with all kinds of inns and shops on it. And you can actually see it from where he's pointing because it's fairly close to the docks. And sure enough, it's a 4-story edifice. It's got weird columns on the outside. It's about the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. There's 2 dudes bracketing the doors that are opening doors for people that are going in, and the people that are going in look roll fancy. They're wearing clothes all over them. They've got hats with funny little feathers and stuff, and the women look strange because nobody's got a butt that big, and that's
Also fascinating.
yeah.
I think I'll one hand that beam back up, thunk it into his chest, and be
It's
like, "My thanks."
yep,
And
yep. Okay, and the guy that was laughing at him before is laughing again, and yeah, you head up.
do 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 do.
Do, 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 do. Yep. You manage to stay out of everybody's way, but you get up to the doors, and the 2 gentlemen on the doors are one's human, one looks like he's elven, and they're about the same height, look to be about the same build, and they're wearing what looks like a uniform, because they're wearing the exact same set of clothes. And you've learned that means uniform, and it is like a nice crimson color with like black braiding and embroidery, and with little bits of green in it. Yeah.
So I've randomly decided that Pastra is going to refer to long-lived races as old ones.
I like it.
Like they'll be like, "Good day, uh, good day, man. Good day, old one. I'm looking for a group setting off to see what they think is a dragon. I think."
So they keep very neutral faces, but one of them nods sharply and opens the door and says, "If sir would please take himself into the lobby, you will be directed from there."
I'm sorry. Okay.
And they hold their positions, like looking straight ahead. Just he holds the door open with his arm, sort of.
All right. Well, duck in the doorway.
The door closes behind you. You're in a very brightly lit. You actually can stand upright. The ceiling here goes up another story. It's very brightly lit, which is kind of unusual in a place that doesn't have a lot of windows. And the floors are polished marble, which is extremely strange to you. And there's a it's not a desk because it has a front. It's not a podium.
Cabinet?
It's like what's the thing people at hotels stand behind?
Oh, kiosk?
Whatever. There's a 8-foot long, 3-foot high, 3.5-foot high marble thing that there's a bunch of people standing behind. And they're wearing the same uniform that you saw outside. One of them bustles around, and it's like the reverse of that uniform. Instead of red, it's black with green and red touches. Rushes over and says, "Sir, may I help you?"
Yes. There's some people here that are looking to go find a dragon,
Of course.
I believe.
Yes, of course. Right, come with me, sir. And he snaps his fingers, and one of the dudes in the red outfit rushes over, and you realize everybody wearing the red outfit looks the same. Like, there's humans and elves, but they're all about the same height, and they all look like they all look the same. Very, very much the same. And one of them rushes up, and nobody salutes you, but there's the stiffness of salutedingness of kind of ness. Oh my god, I can't talk. Yeah. Yeah, right. I'm hysterical. And does another gesture like, "This way, sir." And he's going to lead you off to the side where there's sort of an out-of-the-way door. It almost looks like part of the wall. And he's going to open it, and if sir would follow me. And he's going to start walking down a narrower staircase. There's a huge grand staircase out in the lobby that you were in. This is a narrower staircase. And it's got a switchback staircase. So you end up going down about a story underneath the ground, down into the basement. And then he opens another door. And everything down
I
here
think
is more utilitarian. Sorry?
uh, on his way out of the lobby, I think Pastra will try to, like, if he gets close enough, he'll probably run his fingers along the nicer stuff, like the polished stone, etc. Be like, huh, this is really interesting.
It's so smooth. The the only other place you felt this kind of cool smoothness is with a piece of steel that has been sitting in the snow or a piece of ice. Is that kind of smoothness.
I think Pastra will probably kind of be like, is it painted?
Yeah.
This is very strange.
And it's
It's neat,
yeah,
but it's strange.
and it's
So
clearly
he'll run his
stone.
fingers a lot
Yeah.
over a bunch of stuff, which
The,
probably looks a little odd.
yep. And the guy is trying not to notice. When you get down through the door, that everything down here is a little more utilitarian. The stone is regular stone. It's just like a gray stone, and
Oh yeah, I've seen that before.
yeah. And the further down you get, the more sort of like carved into the rock it looks like it's getting, less finished. But the ceiling stays at about 8 feet, so you're still able to walk without ducking too much. When you do have to duck through the doors and things. When you get through to the next door, you're in a hallway and it's bustling. There are people that are wearing this uniform, but also look like they're wearing sort of starched gray like dresses and pants and like white tops, like white so gray starched dresses and white tops or gray starched pants. Everybody's bustling around, and the kid escorting you waits for like a break and then darts across the hallway and gestures for you to follow. And the hall is lined with doorways, and he goes down, you think like 4 or 5 doors, and then he opens one and gestures in. If sir would please. I need to take a quick break. I have to coordinate the storing of the dogs. I don't think that'll take me more than about 5 minutes. Is a 5-10 minute break good for you?
Sure, I'll just take a bio break.
Okay. So we'll be back at 11:30 my time. 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Stream. I don't think anybody's watching right now, but in case there is, stream. We're gonna be right back. We'll see you in 5 minutes. Hello, Stream. We are back. Thank you for the break. Had to get all the puppies in here so that we could help Luth. So, let's see. You were about to walk into a door in a servant's hallway in the basement of the Parsley and Rose. Did you have any
Right.
comments before I continue?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. So you duck into what looks like sorry, the kittens are trying to open the door. What looks like, let's see. This is probably a room that was like a leisure room, or maybe where the servants of this place might have like eaten a meal. Does that make sense? Like, so there's a big table. Um. So there's a big table. And there's a bunch of like shelving along the two walls on either side of the door that look like they hold all manner of things like linens and buckets and things like that. And around the table are empty chairs, and there's a very fancy looking dude sitting at the other end of the table. He's quite large, side to side, not tall. He's probably 5.5, 6 feet tall. And he stands up as you come in, and he tucks a pocket watch in his vest that has very shiny buttons and stripes, but very sedate colors. And he's got a cigar in his mouth, and he says, "Another one, eh? Come in, sir." And the guy that escorted you here, as soon as you are in the door, he closes it and presumably runs away. And the gentleman comes around the side of the table and he says, "So what are you then?"
What am I?
Yes, are you a treasure seeker? Are you a monster killer? Are you curious?
I would say that I am curious, but I could hunt a monster as well. I am interested to see one.
Well, and he's looking you over. Like you're very tall. You look pretty muscular. What kind of weapons do you have with you?
I have a great axe and a. So I supposedly came with a couple of hand axes and some javelins. I don't really know that he would carry javelins.
That's fine. You can have a great axe. Is it like strapped to your back? Is it on your hip?
Yeah, it's across the back. Hand axes are probably off a belt or something.
Okay.
He also has a lute. I wanted to give him a guitar, but that wasn't an option.
Sure. So he's kind of looking you over and he says, I've sent the group I've hired off already. And he says, "Do you know who I am?"
Absolutely not.
I see. I am the Grand Duke Verret, and Wald is my city.
Congratulations.
And the trade is the lifeblood of my city, and it has been disrupted. And do you know how irritated that makes me?
I'm sure I couldn't guess.
That's right. It makes me very irritated. And so I have been hiring groups of men and that sort, and he sort of gestures at all of you, to solve this problem for me. And thus far, none of them have managed to do anything useful. And yet they still want me to pay them. Now I have sent off just recently another such group. You could probably catch up to them on the road, but I want you to come back and tell me what I'm dealing with, because they either disappear, or come back and tell me nothing useful. Can I hire you to go take a look at this?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to put you on one of my fastest ships instead of you catching up with the last group.
On a
And,
ship? That sounds fun.
well, you might not think that because this thing keeps taking down the ships that I'm sending up this way. Now,
And exciting.
your instructions will be to the instructions the captain will receive, because this is one of my fastest ships and I do not want to lose it, is to not get anywhere near close enough to lose the ship, but close enough for you to tell me what is going on. Does that sound agreeable to you?
Agreeable enough.
All right. The ship is actually ready to head out right now. I was just going to send my captain, but you look like a capable fella, and I think I will send you with him. Are you ready to leave right now?
Yeah, I can leave now.
Okay. Is it all right if I hand wave putting you on the ship?
Sure. I mean, it's probably not a lot of gawking, but I don't know that he's going to do a lot of other stuff.
He's gonna get you. He's gonna get the Duke is gonna tell you what the ship's name is. You get down to the dock. You ask some questions. I'm looking for this ship. You end up at a ship that has really narrow proportions, and it's not as big as the ones they're loading cargo onto. It appears to have a very shallow keel, so it's not too deep in the water, and it's sitting pretty high, so it's pretty light. The ramp up to it, instead of being wide enough for somebody to carry a load up, is quite narrow. So it appears to you that this ship is the kind that only carries people. And there's nobody guarding the end of the ramp like there are at other ships. You head right up.
Yep.
You get up to where the ramp meets the ship and you hop down. There are very capable looking humanoids all over the place. They're getting the I don't know how to get a ship out of a harbor. They do that. They get the ship out of the harbor. They're starting to do that. And a very tall,
Oars, generally.
sure, yeah, oars, yep. Very tall gentleman strides up to you and he says, "And you are?"
The owner of the city sent me.
The Duke sent
I'm-
you?
I'm Pastra.
Another group of adventurers? I told him I wasn't about to ferry those idiots around anymore.
I am hardly a group, sir.
Well, where is the rest of your party?
He just sent me.
He just sent you? You're gonna take care of a dragon? All by yourself?
Sounds like a good adventure.
Okay. One moment. And he gives a piercing whistle. A runner literally runs up the gangplank and he says, "I need a message to the Duke. He'll be at the Parsley and Rose." And he's basically asking for confirmation. The runner and gives the boy a coin. Runner runs off, and the guy goes, "Yeah, we're gonna wait right here." And
How tippy is the boat? Like you said, it's pretty narrow.
it's narrow, but it's got two masts. It's maybe God, how big are boats? Hang on, let me Google boats.
I mean, there's a variety.
I know. I don't know a lot about boats. I like the idea of docks, though. Here, okay, sailboats. Here we go. Um,
If you're talking something pretty fast, that would also probably be small. Uh, it probably wouldn't be very wide. Maybe dozen, maybe 15 feet across.
yep.
And how tippy it is would depend on how high it is out of the water, how heavy it is. I imagine it can't be super tippy if it's a mast boat, because otherwise it would just tip into the water.
Right. I think it's a bit bigger than like a schooner. Like it's
Okay.
like a
I got the impression that if Pastra could realize that he could affect the rocking of the boat, then he'd turn into like a kid that wants to see how far he can get it.
yeah, that's yeah.
But
I
I
think
don't know that he could do that.
have you ever taken rides on like old like they brand them for tourists as like pirate ships. And they're real boats and they can put like 20, 30 tourists on the boat at a time and still have a crew. You ever been on one of those?
Kinda. I don't think I've been,
I had
but
a
I think I
weird
know what you're
childhood.
talking about.
What's
We
the
can go with
worst
no.
is if I could just text somebody, they would know.
He's probably equally enthusiastic about the crow's nest, so that's probably what he'll try to do.
That sounds good. Yeah, I don't think he can tip it. I think there's at least 15, 20 dudes on this ship. It's rocking with the ocean.
Which is interesting, but I don't think I feel like Pastra is going to really enjoy the water, so I don't want to make him seasick.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, that would not be good. I mean, you can do that. You can absolutely make that character choice, but I will play through that, but it might be awkward. So when you say he's interested in the crow's nest, is he just looking at her, or does he try to move towards it?
Well, I mean, first he's gonna like be like, ah. If he's just sitting here waiting, like eventually he'll be like, that looks neat, and then he'll start going to climb it.
He'll block you and say, "We're just gonna wait right here."
Do you have anything to do?
And he says, "Yeah, I have a lot of things to do, but I'm waiting on the Duke's favor. As usual, because I'm the Duke's man."
I feel like we could do something while we wait.
What do you want to arm wrestle?
That's not my first choice, but we could do that.
And he's like, you know what? Fine, get over here. And so there are barrels lashed to the sides of the deck on either side of where the ramp was came into the deck, where the railing was taken away. And he says, "Come over here." And he puts his elbow right down on it, and he puts his fist up like, "All right, let's do this." And a couple of the guys start shouting, and they all gather around. Go ahead and roll a d20 for me and tell me what you get.
I rolled a 7.
Go ahead and add your strength. Let's say your saving
That's
throw.
Saving throw
Yeah.
makes it a 13.
And do you think he's been in very many arm wrestling matches in the past?
Oh, I'm sorry, that makes it a 12. Arm wrestling matches?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not. That seems a little boring for his taste. I imagine there's contests. I just don't think they're going to be arm wrestling contests.
You guys struggle back and forth for a minute, but he manages to pin your arm down. And he's like,
That was
satisfied?
interesting.
And he's like, it was just arm wrestling.
Let's try it again.
So he puts his arm down. Go ahead and roll another d20.
That's a 19.
Okay. So you rolled a 7 last time?
I rolled a 7. So I rolled a 14.
No,
Which
hang on.
add stuff.
Did you roll a 7 last time?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I rolled a 7 this time. So I
Okay.
think that's entertaining. And my total last time was a 19, so I'm highly entertained at this point.
Now I rolled a multiple of 7.
Yeah.
So
So I still need to sort through those cards so I can use random effects whenever a 7 is rolled. And I need to, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon is actually get that all figured out. But, so this time there's a bit of a back and forth. But I think, let's flavor this that Pastra was watching the captain, the way he like, the way the muscles moved in his arm as he like pinned him. And Pastra's doing his level best to do that back to the captain this time. Does that sound all right?
sure.
And so you managed to pin his arm. And he looks at you like, okay, now are you satisfied?
I think I'm getting the hang of this.
And he says, all right, fine. And he yells for rum. He's, rum, get over here. And the biggest Goliath you think you've ever seen pops his head up from the cargo hold. And he says, huh? Aye? And the captain waves him over. This guy's got at least a head of height on you. And he has all of the muscles in the entire world. But very tiny ankles.
I'll greet him in giant.
He responds and is kind of looking you over, and he responds in kind, and the captain says, "Go ahead." And the guy lumbers over, kneels down, puts his hand up. You want to go ahead and do this again?
Whoo, boy. I mean, he'll try.
Are you gonna do anything interesting? Or you're just gonna try and roll.
No, I think I'm just going to try to roll.
Go for it.
I rolled a 9.
I think there was something about what you picked up from the captain. Maybe it's how you wedge your elbow in the lip of the barrel. Something. But you guys end up in a deadlock. And you're both straining back and forth. And he's looking at you like, how the hell are you doing this? And he's trying, and you're trying to, and it's not like you're making it easy or anything, and you're straining against him, but somehow you get your whole body in the right position where you are a rock and not going to move. And after a minute, the poor guy looks at the captain like, eh, and the captain's like, all right, enough. And the runner actually runs up. Here you go, and hands over a note. And he looks at it, and he says, all right, heave it off, boys, let's go. Get back to your work. And so they all scatter. And he turns around, he crosses his arms, and he's like, all right, Pastra, you're with me.
Won't this be fun?
Now, I've got a couple of rules for idiots on my boat. You ready?
Sure.
Don't touch anything. Don't push any of my men. And don't get in my way.
How do you feel about cliff climbs?
What?
Oh, I guess your rum didn't tell you. It's a game. Don't worry about it.
Is it a game that you can play on a ship?
Maybe.
Don't touch anything. If you break any of those rules, one of my guys, probably Rum, will just chuck you overboard, because I don't give a shit. If I go back to town, if I go back to the city and I tell that Grand Duke that poor dragon just ate you right off my deck, he'll believe me. You got that?
I hope he doesn't. But fine.
Great. And he pivots around on his very shiny boot, and he stomps off towards the back of the boat where the wheelie thing is.
I'll sit down in the middle of the deck. Probably start playing my lute.
You're immediately in everybody's way because they're all running around here. Probably
Is there a place to be that doesn't require touching anything?
So what's interesting about this is all he said was don't touch anything. And you could very easily have been like, I'm standing on the deck and I'm touching all the air around you. And I appreciate that you didn't do that.
Pastra is not that smart.
So do we think when he says don't touch anything, Pastra would assume like thing means someone's belt pouch and that bucket over there? Or do you think he would associate that with the masts? Because I believe most of the work that's happening right now is down on the deck. Because I don't think they deploy I don't think they're going to get the sails out until they're further out.
So he might first kind of make it a game to try to dodge around people. But if he figures out that if he's off the deck, he's not bumping into anybody, that might, like, he might try to go up some unless somebody says no.
Yeah, no, I think he figures that out. I think he figures out that he's, that he, if he gets up on the masts, and there's little handholds and stuff, and the easiest one to get up is the biggest middle one where that crow's nest is.
All right. So
Roll me an athletics.
14.
Okay, so I think you make it up this mast, and there's all these sails and ropes in the way, so I don't know that anybody would see you right away. You gonna try and get all the way up to the crow's nest?
I mean, I think initially he'll just get off the deck.
So you stop at like the first
Watch the
sail
chaos,
thingy.
and
Yeah.
At some point, he'll probably get bored of that and be like, well, I'm already up here.
Do you think he'll
I can
try
at
to
least get-
like walk along the sail mast things?
If he's up there long enough, he probably will, yeah.
So you watch them pull the boat out very neatly and stop eating my hoodie.
Probably revel in the swaying mast, be like, hey,
Oh, yeah, there's
this is pretty neat.
Much more swaying up there. And there's lots of yelling and stuff, but they finally get out to the larger ocean, and this is not something you've seen before.
No.
The water down by the docks and these huge ships, these are the largest man-made things you've ever seen. And so that was a bit daunting, but you're up here on this mast and you're looking out at what appears to be an endless amount of blue that just curves away into the distance. And if you look behind you, there's
That's
growing.
even more of a reason for him to go all the way to the top and be like,
Yeah.
what can I see?
Yeah, so you get all the way up to the top. You can see the land that you were just standing on falling away behind you. You can see these snow white sails popping up underneath you. You can see the edge of the world. The blue just is endless. You can clearly see the line where the world in your view just ends. And if you look behind you, the land stretches off to the north and the south. And in front of you, there is only ocean.
Boats are amazing.
There's birds and stuff coming out and going back to land. But eventually, a guy pops up to your left, and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?"
Hey, I'm enjoying the view.
Some of us got jobs to do. Get out of there.
Okay. And then I'll probably walk along the sail.
He's like, "Hey, you're gonna fall." Can you roll a dex check for me?
Natural 20.
Great. If you want to do little skips around out there, you could do that. Yeah.
Fall? What are you talking about?
And he's like, you know what? I don't care. Fine. And he looks off into the distance and he pulls out a telescope and he's looking and he roars down to the deck. All's clear, Captain. And the angle of the sail, you hear some other shouts from and the angle of the sails shift a little, and then they bail out because they've caught the wind, and you can feel the whole ship just lurch forward. And you might be moving faster than you've ever moved in your entire life. So the wind is streaming past your ears, and there's a very peculiar sensation as the wind goes over your head. The only time you've felt this kind of thing in the past has been particularly fierce storms where the wind comes in and sideways.
I think I'm talking to the lookout like, this is amazing.
He's like, yeah, mate. He thinks you're an
This is
idiot.
what happens every time.
Yes. You never been on a boat before? What's wrong with you?
What? No, clearly.
Stop messing around. Get down to the deck. Captain's gonna be looking for you.
Oh. All right then.
You can hang out up here as long as you like. The captain does eventually look for you. He sticks you in at night, he sticks you down in the hold with the other men. They've got hammocks all strung up around what looks like cargo that's all been lashed down, and gives you a hammock, and he says, sleep here. And he tells you what time grub is and
like
stuff.
Hammocks.
Yeah, I bet. Because they...
Ooh, hammocks.
Yeah.
This is a good idea. I need to do this.
Yeah. And he leaves you
I
down
should
there.
get a hammock.
And he says, if you have any problems, I don't care, and walks away. And that's kind of the dynamic you have. Is at any point do you think Pastra would try to help?
I mean, probably. How long is this trip?
I think it's gonna take... I should just look at my map. I made a map for a reason. For stuff like this. You're down and walled. I think this trip's gonna take about 5 days if the winds stay cooperative.
Okay, so he probably would help out some. He probably would try to get to the top of the mast when he can. I imagine he'll lose some money to some game-playing crewmates because he'll try anything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. Are you alright?
You like
Hang on.
you
Ow.
throw these little
All
bits of bone, and depending on the side, you win or lose. That's interesting.
And they're like, yeah, mate. So they managed to get quite a bit of money out of you. The
He
captain...
probably doesn't have much, so I don't know how much they're gonna get. But
Yeah, they get most of it. The captain at one point wades in and is like, do not cut it out. And they're like, yes, sir. But he mostly ignores you. I think you would get bored. And so I'm wondering if, like, you would try to, like, rig a rope somewhere and try and walk down the side of the boat or the ship while it was moving. Or whether, when it's anchored at night, if he'd try and, like, skim down. Would he try to get down into the water at all?
I imagine somebody in the crew would figure out that if they came up with something weird to do, he'll do it. So
Okay.
they'd start being like, "Oh, how about this?" And you're like, "All right."
How about this? So they get all the money off of you. And then at some point they're joshing each other. They're sort of teasing this one guy about that bet he lost. And back in the day. And he's like, y'all are buttheads. And they're like, you want to try it again? He's like, no. And what they're talking about is rigging a line, like a rope, to the mast that's long enough that it'll reach from one end of the boat to the other, and then hopping off the boat and trying to get the rope to sort of swing you the full length of the boat.
Yeah.
That sound like something Pastra would be like, I could do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Be like, that sounds really fun.
Okay.
I want to do it.
All right. And they're like, you just, and one guy's like, You want to take the bet?
Oh, there's money involved? Yeah, sure. Let's do
And
that.
the captain's walking by, and he's like, but he keeps walking, like he knows his men, and they're like, all right, yeah, well, was 10 copper says you can't.
I mean, do I have 10 copper?
No. And he,
You take something like as collateral?
yeah, how about this? If you can't do it, then you swab the decks for the rest of this trip.
Fair. Sounds good.
All right. For the record, it's not fair. That's a shitty deal.
Oh, no, it's probably not. But he doesn't know any better.
Right, exactly.
Like, this is a good challenge. Why not?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to need you to roll. I could see my way for this to be athletics.
All right.
Yeah.
That is a 10.
+5
Not
or total?
Great. Total.
Well, so they secure the rope for you. And you get...
Oh, I probably would amp myself up. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Does make a difference. Amp yourself up.
So he would rage, or what we're going to
But
call it.
what would... Yeah, I get that. But what would it look like for Pastra?
I mean, like, he'd, like, shake himself out and, like, smack his chest some and,
Yeah.
like, maybe yell a bit. And, like,
Is
okay.
there any like rhythmic like stomping and like gesturing at all?
I don't think he's figured out his whole system yet,
Shtick
so
yet?
there
Yeah.
might be some like bouncing or thumping or something like that. So it's really just him like.
Okay. The guys watch this and they're kind of like, the fuck? Yeah, so go ahead and roll again. I'll give you advantage. And does rage give you anything?
I know it gives bonuses to damage. I don't know what else it does.
Gives you advantage on strength checks.
Does this count?
Yeah.
Okay. That is a total of 15.
Total? Yeah, sorry,
Total.
you said total. Duh, sorry. My apologies. I'm just so used to being like total. So would it be fair to say that you work yourself up, you've got the rope, you grab onto it, but you don't tie it around your waist? And
Probably.
one of the
No, it
guys,
doesn't do.
one of the guys is like, ah, and the other guy's like, nope. See what he does. And he's like, seriously? And he's like, yeah, I want to watch this. And you grab the rope, and the way they've described it is you literally just jump off the edge of the ship and try and throw your weight so it drags the whole rope the length of the boat. Do you think he would see
So
the
are
problem
you-
with this at all?
So are you running along the side of the boat, or are you just trying to jump far enough out that when you swing back, it's the end of the boat?
That's how they've described it to you, but do you think he would see the problem with that?
Of the jumping, or like what happens when the line gets to the middle and you get pretty much under?
Yeah, that part.
I mean, he's not super bright, but I feel like he probably would catch that because that's like mountain climbing. Like if you're in the middle, you're lower than you would be off to an angle.
So let's say, yeah, I agree with you. Let's say that they've described it that way, but you see it as, because you rolled a 15, you see it as running along the side of the boat. So you jump off, you land at the bottom, you run the full length of the boat back up to the top, and you have to walk your way up the rope. You do jump out, and it does give you enough momentum that you're more swinging on the rope than you are running along the ship. Does that sound about right?
Okay, probably yelling/screaming the
Sure.
whole way.
Sure. And the guys start laughing the second you go out. But when you pass the midpoint, they kind of get quieter, and they're like, "Wait a minute, what?" And then when you pop up on the other side, you're not wet, and you look completely fine. They're like, "Whoa!" And the guy that bet you was like, "How did you? Aw,
Woohoo!
damn it!" And
That was great.
so and the guys are like, elbowing him and stuff, like, "You owe him 10 copper." And he's like, "Fine." And he hands over, very reluctantly, 10 copper. Do you think Pastra would say something like, "What else you got?"
Oh, yeah, I'd be like, you know any other fun things to do?
Yep. So you spend the rest of the trip doing the weirdest things. They try to get you
Wacky
to...
stunts.
Yeah, they get you to attach a rope to the top of the, like, above where the crow's nest is, and, like, swing around it, like, on a rope without touching any of the sails.
Ooh, that seems fun but hard. Yeah.
Yep. They try to get you to jump from one... what's it called when it goes... It's not the mast, it's the thing the sails hang off of. The flat... the thing you can walk on.
Spar?
Sure. They try to get you to jump from one of those down to the bottom one, down to the deck, without breaking anything.
Oh, yeah. Definitely would do that.
They try to get you to... I think they try to get you to walk down the anchor, down to the water, and, like, touch the water and come back up, because it's all slippery and stuff. Like the chain
Okay.
for the anchor. I think they do very traditional, like, how much stuff can you pick up, and, like, can you do a chin up from a deadlift and that kind of stuff. They do all kinds of stuff. The captain largely ignores all of your experiments. I think if they suggest anything too dangerous, he does kind of put a stop to that. But that's how you spend the rest of your trip is. And I think you come up with a couple of interesting things as well. And the guys are like, yeah. So by the end of it, you're about even again. You succeed in some and you fail at others, but you don't injure yourself. And
as an added bonus, he does. Goliaths do come with Stone's Endurance, which is like you can negate a certain amount of damage from a single hit. So he probably does take a couple of spills. It just doesn't do much.
Doesn't do much, yeah. And by the end of this, every time you succeed or you take a spill but you're fine, the guys are like, "Yay!" Like, they're super excited.
I bet by the end, like, they're not even offering money anymore.
No,
it's
yeah.
just like, let's see if you could do this.
You know what else you could do? Yeah. They definitely, you spend the entire trip doing this. I think that makes sense. That by the time you get up to the straits, you're not even doing money anymore. You guys are just really excited about it.
Man, I love boats.
So, and like, you say that one evening when everybody's just, they've all had a drink and they're like, yeah, boats. So
You guys do this all the time?
Yeah,
Man.
And oh, excuse me. Okay, so on the 5th day, it's about the middle of the morning, and you haven't. We'll say it's about noon. So you guys have been traveling for about half the day, and the captain calls a halt and drops the anchor. And he comes down to the deck and he says, "Well, this is all you. I'm going to wait right here, and I'll give you one of my longboats, and I will either see you when you get back, or in 5 days, I'm heading home."
Cool.
All right. So you hop in this longboat. How are you going to try and investigate a dragon? That's what they've told you it is.
I assume they gave me a direction. Like,
Yes. So you are... Do not know if this is going to show up on camera. You are here. Like right here. And the dragon lives somewhere in here. This is where it's been taken down to ships, at least.
All right. Does he know what's up with the hunting party, the last one that went?
No, that captain had no idea. I think what he knows is that they went by land, and they were instead of by ship.
Okay. And he said, uh, the Duke said that this is faster, so we probably are here before them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's probably going to take them.
Does the captain know which route they'll show up by?
There's a lot of cliffs along along the straits. There's only a couple places where you can come down. One of them is by this lake that's up here. So this is walled down here, and y'all kind of scooped around the end of this peninsula. This lake comes out up in this area, like nearer the mountains. So that's a good bet of where they might launch from. Because if this dragon lives in the water, you're going to have to get into the water to go after it.
All right. Well, he was directed to watch, so he'd probably try to pause for the hunting party, but I don't know if he's willing to pause long enough.
That spot that they're going to come out is... What's going on? Doggo being weird?
The
Well,
doggo got
Hi,
invited
lady.
out and then
You're on the internet.
got a ball and ran back into the room. I'm like, nope, it's my ball. You can't have it.
Yeah, the kittens are destroying everything behind me, so I understand.
And now it's being chased away.
Yep. So the place that the other hunting party might come out is about a 2 days sail up the straits. So they're basically going to come out above where the dragon turtle is, and you're being introduced to it from below.
Okay.
What you might do is hop in the longboat, stick fairly close to shore.
Yeah, I think he'd probably hug the shore and go north into to a point.
So this is the continent you came from, and this is the other one. This side is not cliffs; it's more like rocky beaches and stuff. So it might make sense for them to drop you off on that side of the straits, and you can hug that shore, because all the sailors at this point are friends with you, and they warn you want to hug the shore so that if anything pops up, you can get to land. Because if you're in the water when this thing comes after you, we will never see you again.
It's like a challenge.
Does sound like a challenge.
All right, so yeah, he'll hug the far shore, head north,
Okay.
and see if he can get near a portion where they'd be, entering the area.
Mm-hmm.
But probably keep his eyes peeled to see if he can spot anything fun.
So I think this could probably turn into like a whole damn adventure.
Probably, yeah.
Which is very interesting. It also sets the precedence that the dragon turtle's been in the Straits of Nankaro for just ages.
A while.
A while.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking a way to wrap this up would be either, because you could kind of make a whole thing out of him trying to find the other hunting party and observe how they go after the turtle.
Like, we can jump this. We just have to figure out some answers to certain questions.
Like jump to the part where you're observing.
Like, does he get to see it? Does he find the hunting party?
Right. I think.
If this thing stays, he obviously doesn't kill it.
Well,
I don't know if you drive it off.
I don't think he can. So the thing about this, about what he's going to see is it is bigger than the boat he was just on. By like,
I mean, he'd probably be interested in trying to ride it, but
Yeah.
I don't think he'd expect to be able
like
to kill it.
it's the kind of thing where if you ended up getting on its back without it noticing, it probably just wouldn't notice, because it's huge. Like those really big shipping boats, like it's bigger than those. It can eat those. That's what it's been doing.
Yeah, that's probably his first thought is, I want to ride it.
Yeah. So I wonder if he would be more interested in, once he gets his eyes on it, I wonder if he'd be more interested in what the hunting party was doing to try and kill it, or whether he would just start scheming ways to get on its back.
I mean, if you catch a sight of it before the hunting party, oh yeah, that's just he like all thoughts of the hunting party are gone. Like, how do I do this?
Well, I think what he would try and do is probably try and find where it lived, which I
Sure,
don't
that makes sense.
which I don't super want to do on stream because that's something I'm planning for modern day to do. But what we could, so instead of like looking at maps and stuff, what we could say is, what if he uses the hunting party as a way to get it to come out, right? Because what they do is they take a rickety old boat out there and start making a bunch of noise. And then he watches for the dragon turtle to eat all of them and to notice that they're completely ineffective against this gigantic ass thing. And he catches a glimpse of it like a day before he finds the hunting party. So he already knows that he wants to get on, like try to ride this thing. And then once the dragon turtle has eaten the hunting party, he sort of follows it back to where it lives. Do you think that would occur to him?
Yes, but let me posit this particular image that I have in my head that I find amazing.
Lay it on me.
So, I'm thinking about like this hunting party that has been like trekking up the trail for who knows how long. They finally get to their camp, like, and they like catch a glimpse of it, and it's Pastra riding on its back, like hand in the air, as it kind of skims by and then dips back below. Like, that's their first view, is this crazy dude just like.
So as the hunting party is sort of scouting out where the dragon turtle might be, he's already found it
And is
riding it, right? I think that's a really interesting idea. Like he'd have to find it, he'd have to approach it without alarming it. He'd have to get up onto its. So what he sees here is this creature is. I want you to imagine.
So he tracks it.
Yeah.
He manages to figure out where it hangs out a bunch.
Yeah.
He rides it for that bit, but he can't follow it underwater, obviously. So he'll probably just let off. And like, so the hunting party has this dude that was just riding it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like, "Did you see that? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was great. That was great." And they're like, we need to kill that." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you probably do. That's fair."
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm here to watch, so
And they're
I
like,
did my bit.
"What?" And you just sort of like swim away.
No, like, I'll come back up on shore and be like, "Oh, no, the Duke sent me here to see what happens," because he never gets a report. So, do your thing. Yeah, it hangs out here a bunch.
I think they start muttering to themselves like, "There's no way we can kill that damn thing. Like, maybe if we could get it on land, but out in the water, like, there's no way. Like, we don't have a foot to stand on, literally. Like, what do we do?"
You got two.
And they
You just can't got nowhere to stand. That's fair.
they'll turn to you and be like, "Does it have any weaknesses?" So I want you to imagine a dragon. So about the biggest thing just in your imagination, with a very long, narrow snout. Um, and its back is, it's got a very sort of broad chest and hind quarter region, and its back is made up of slightly raised. Well, for it, it's slightly raised. For you, it's like raised like 2 or 3 feet. Hard, large plate scales across its back that come to these little points at the end of them, where the scale would normally like have a point. They're like little raised points, and that's probably what you grab a hold of when you're riding it. And almost like scalloped edges. Now these scallops are big enough that you could like take a nap in one, but it's, instead of having like elbows, the arms are sort of flatter for swimming. And so there's massive webs between its claws, but its claws are about the length of a longboat. Like, this thing is huge. It doesn't have any wings, you don't think. You haven't seen any. And it's streamlined. Like, it can whip through this water faster than anything. And it doesn't look like anybody's managed to land a mark on it. Like, it doesn't have any scars. It's not missing an eye. Like, this thing looks young, sleek, and fat and happy.
So, Pastra would probably initially be like, well, I mean, there's probably places that are weaker than others. But then he would start wildly speculating. Like, so if you could freeze this section, that might work. Or, or maybe if you just had like a really, really big harpoon, maybe. You'd have to go for like not the shell, but maybe. Like, so these ridiculous bun ideas that come out of
And they're
a
kind
crazy
of
mountain guy's head.
they're kind of panicking after they've seen you ride this thing, and you guys are conferencing on shore. And one guy is straight up like, "I'm not going anywhere near that thing. This isn't worth it." Sorry
It'll
for
probably
yawning.
eat you.
What?
It'll probably eat you.
And he's like, I'm out." And the leader,
Only if it notices you, though, because it might not notice you.
and they're like, "What?" Like, that hasn't occurred to them. They've been thinking that they need to get its attention.
If it doesn't know you're there, it's not going to eat you. I mean, you might be pretty close to a small meal, but that's about it.
And they're like, "Well, should we try to sneak up on it?"
I mean, sure. That sounds great.
Do you know where it lives? Like, maybe we could sleep up on it when it's sleeping. Does it sleep underwater?
Oh, I haven't figured that out. I just realized that it hangs out here a bunch, swims around.
Well, it didn't seem to notice you when you were just hanging out on its back. Did it not? How'd you get on its
Did you
back?
see how big it was?
Well,
Things-
yeah, but
Of course it didn't notice me. I'm a flea.
and they're like, "Right, yeah." And they're like, "Okay, well, maybe we get on it that way. Did you just hang out in the water until it swam by and you just kind of grabbed on?"
Yeah. You just kind of go in like a high traffic area and like try not to move too much. And then when it swims under you, if you're lucky, you can grab on. That's the best I got.
And they sort of, you guys talk about it for a little bit longer. And the nominal leader of the group is a lady who's missing her left eye, and she's like, "All right, enough talking. We're gonna do this, or we're not gonna do this. Who's in?" And they all kind of, "All right, yeah, we'll do it," except that one guy that's like, I'll watch and report back to the Duke. Y'all have fun."
You
And
guys got a long glass or anything?
they're like,
Supposed to watch, so.
"No." And
Oh.
the lady that's leading the group is like, "If you want to watch, you better come with us."
All right.
So you all, you lead him out there. There's a spot that's pretty good. That's There's kind of the shore is more of a drop off, so the dragon turtle does have the ability to swim by there. And in fact, this narrower stretch of water is much deeper than it is wide. It's extremely deep. So the dragon turtle lives in this area. And so you are all swimming out there, and like on shore, you've figured out a place where you can set aside all your like your great axe and stuff, so that you're not trying to swim with like 30 pounds on you, right? And
I mean, I
so
probably did that before too. So
that's
yeah,
what I
I'm
mean,
just
is you've got like a
somewhere to
spot where you
stash.
can stash stuff. And so they start stripping off, and they're trying to figure out how to secure weapons and stuff. And the lady leading it is like, you know what? This is a recon mission. We're just going to go out and look at it this time. So
It's
show
real
us
cool.
what we're doing. There are 5 of you. So there are 4 of them and 1 of you. And the 5th one of their party is just going to stand by your stuff. Be like, bye. And is clearly expecting you all to die and take all your stuff. And she gives him like the worst threatening, if I don't die and you take all my stuff, I'm going to kill you to little bits and pieces. And he takes her, she's not very graceful at it, but he takes her meaning quite well. And so you all just head out at a particularly fruitful time of day.
Mean, I'll give him pointers like we should probably spread out some, so
Right.
that like if we're clumped together and making some splashy, it's gonna be like, oh, food. So we should spread out, try to stroke as evenly and as under
And
the radar as possible.
okay, so you all get out there. Now, only 4 of you are decent swimmers. I'll go ahead and say you weirdly are, because you've been pretty good at stuff so far.
I think I've caught on quickly.
Yes.
I mean, there's hot springs or something that are possible, but I
Right.
don't think he's done much swimming. But
Mm-hmm.
given his enjoyment of the boat, I think swimming is like, yeah, this is gonna be great.
Well, I think you probably got to swimming when it was anchored at night. You swim around the boat and stuff. So because I don't think they could have kept you out of the water. I think you're just too
Yeah,
interested.
he probably also had river experience, etc.
Well,
before that.
I'm guessing one of the things they asked you to do was to
Scrub the barnacles off the
well,
hull.
to go underneath the boat, like to dive off one end and go under and come up the other side. I think is probably
I
something
mean,
they
yeah,
bet you to do.
that's something he'd probably try
Right.
while it's moving.
I think it's too fast.
Yeah, there would have to be a way to get back up
Mm-hmm.
because if he comes out the back, then like, and there goes the boat.
Bye. Yeah. So I think you've got some swimming expertise. One of the guys with you does not, and he is doing a lot of splashing. Do you try to like stay with him and kind of help him out?
No,
Are you?
be like, hey, you should stop that. Like, you should really stop that. I'm going to be over there.
Yep. So you get as far away from him as you can. They're all spread out. He's panicking and like dipping under the water and sputtering, and the lady that's in charge is like, if you don't cut that out, it's gonna eat you, which does not help. He panics more, and he's like, I'm not doing it, and he starts to head towards shore. And usually when you've seen the dragon turtle, it's kind of skims the top of the surface of the water, which is what gave you the idea to do this,
Yeah, you
and kind
can
of
see
grab
that
on.
weird dip that big fish do. Yeah.
You don't see a dip. You just see him bloop right under the water. And he doesn't come back up again. And it doesn't look like he's dipped down. It looks like something, he's on one of his upswings, and something just sucks him right under the water.
This may have gone awry.
And
Perhaps we should head towards shore.
the woman's like, I am not moving. And she is doing as much as possible to stay super duper still. And there's a very tense, I'm going to say about 10 minutes. And then, are you going to stay there? Or are you going to try and move?
I think he's going to, he's definitely going to give the place where the guy disappeared
Oh yeah,
a wide berth.
you're
but,
really far away from it. Yeah, you're going to try and get
he'll
back to shore.
probably try to like edge around that area and head back to shore.
in as little a paddling as possible.
Roll a d20 and tell me what you roll.
Okay. Not high. I rolled a 3. So what does that mean?
I think Pastra gets eaten because the dragon turtle's in the area. It You attracted food. It knows that where one man is, usually there's more. And as soon as something moves, I think it's gonna eat you.
Okay. So the question is,
Yeah.
what does that do? Like, does it bite? Does it try to swallow whole?
I
Like,
think
how does
it
that?
I think it dips up, grabs
Does it
onto your
act like an
foot
alligator? Like the grab, pull, and like
and roll.
drowned, and then
Yeah. I think he pulls you under and like is he grabs you and just drops deeper. And so you're just being dragged underneath the surface of the water. Uh the sounds all go away, right? Like that peculiar underwater thing. There are fishes zipping out of your way, and you can sense the presence. And like your foot is stuck between two giant teeth, and you can see this huge presence underneath you that is the dragon turtle, and it's two glittering eyes that are at least as big as you are, looking at you.
okay, I may have a really interesting idea for this, but I have to figure out if I can find it.
Lay it on me.
Uh, 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 Want to know if it's the first jump or the second one. Do, do, do. Okay, so it's at least maybe the first one. All right. So a when a barbarian takes the the totem path,
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things the said barbarian learns once it takes the path is a speak with animals spell.
Oh yeah.
So, given all of Pastra's experiences and growth, this would be a really cinematic time for him to be able to like, hey, I'm not here to kill you. Please don't eat me.
Can we also say that when you did ride on it, hang
So
on, can we also say that when you did ride on it earlier, the sort of the scale that tipped up that you got, you actually one of the reasons you ended up back in the water is as you were hanging on to it, that tip snapped off. And to the dragon turtle, it wouldn't have noticed a damn thing, but you ended up with a big piece, and you've actually been carving on it, and you've added it to your.
hey, my first totem.
What do you think?
I think that's perfect.
Okay, so you do that. You've actually, let's also say that you've spent days looking at this. Like probably the captain is long gone by now, but you didn't see this right on it and run into the hunting party and like have that all happen in like 2 or 3 days. Like, let's say that you actually have been camping out on this beach and you've been watching and studying the dragon turtle. Let's say
To try to
for
get on its back, among other things.
let's say for weeks. Let's say the hunting party does not show up for like a good 2 weeks. And then,
So the captain is long gone.
yeah. And then it takes them like, let's say another like week and a half to even start going out there. And that's the day that so you've been out here for about a month, watching this dragon turtle. You've been watching its movements. You've been noticing its, how it thinks, all that.
What if I didn't break off that? What if I found it in one of my like forays into the lake? Like I found a chunk that came off like it chipped or broke or shedded or whatever it did.
Yeah.
So I grabbed it and like I've been carving on that,
Yep.
and we can reskin flavor the
totem barbarian, so I'm not. So I'll choose something that is like turtle dragon,
Mm-hmm.
but it actually is represented by a different animal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so when this thing is pulling you under, its teeth are too big to like bite off your foot. It's the kind of thing where it's going to drag you under and then sort of like scoop up and just swallow you whole.
Maybe mash me a little bit, but like, yeah.
Yeah. But it kind of like it's gotten really good at like coming up, and if you're in the water, sort of like hooking feet and knees and stuff in its teeth and then just pulling down without biting. You know what I mean?
So wait until it stops flailing and then hum.
Yeah. So you're kind of your foot is like caught in its teeth and you're being dragged under. What does Pastra do? Do you think he'd be able to try and communicate with this thing?
That is a tough call. Like the immediate thing is like, yeah, he'd probably kick into adrenaline, which would affect something. This is also, as far as technicalities go, supposed to be a ritual spell, but he has been staring at this thing for a ton. So
I think that's the ritual part. I think the part where he wakes up every morning and sees the dragon turtle begin its morning routine. And you are aligned with it, like you know when it's going to be in the water. I think there's enough ritual there, and the way that you handle the totem.
so given this is the first foray, I don't know that he's even going to be able to speak necessarily. Maybe he can just convey things. And one of the things that I was pretty sure is that at this point, Pastra doesn't want to kill the turtle dragon. Like,
Right.
this thing's too cool.
So
I'd rather it
at a
stay
higher
here.
at a higher level, you have something called beast sense.
Yes, I
What?
think that happens later.
Well, it does. But what if we haven't really been playing off of the sheets, really super duper ness. But what if this is something, this totem that you're carving is something that in a sheet sense levels you up to the point where you have beast sense. So we're
Okay.
looking at your level 5 sheet. And so as soon as you're in contact with this thing, instead of panicking or wanting to kill it, Pastra wants to know what it's thinking. And all of a sudden,
Okay.
you're seeing through the dragon turtle's eyes.
All right, kind of like a shared mind thing.
Yes, and the dragon turtle, you feel the dragon turtle immediately like stop in shock. Like instead of sinking, it freezes in the ocean, and it's still sort of like sinking, but it's not actively like trying to drag you under, which gives you enough time because as it was dragging you under, it was moving at such a speed. There's no way you're gonna get your foot out from under that, but it pauses, and you're able to get your foot out, which loses contact, and that split second of knowing with the dragon turtle stuns you. Like it's overwhelming the magnitude of the experience of being a dragon turtle to itty bitty Goliath you would be so overwhelming you'd sort of freeze, and so you'd float up in the water and it would just be sort of sinking slowly downward, and you make eye contact and it is looking at you with what is very clearly intelligence, and it knows that something just happened and that it came from you. And it doesn't try to eat you. It just sort of stares at you as you float back up to the surface.
So I think he'll try. I don't know if this will actually work, but I think he'll try to convey like the swim with care or whatever, because you
Yep.
know, smaller fish are hunting or something like that. He'll be like,
Yeah.
"Be careful, brah."
Right. And the dragon turtle, like, I think would very sort of startled be like, okay. Like if a dragon turtle could be like, okay, that's kind of the sense it gives you. And I like the idea of you just sort of floating back very peacefully back up to the surface with it sort of sinking down. And it starts to move again, but it doesn't come at you. It just sort of like is staying in your space as you float up. And you get up to the surface. Your lungs are aching because it got you down pretty far, but I don't think you inhale any water. You pop up to the back of the surface, and everybody, the 3 other guys up there are like, "Oh my god, how are you still alive? Oh my god!"
I met a sea god.
And they're like, the fuck? Is it gone? Can we get back to the... Are we doomed? Oh my god! And like,
We're
they're...
like, yeah. Yeah, it's gone. Sure.
And they're like, okay. And they start scrambling back towards the shore. And they make it. They make it to shore. And you make it to shore. But,
I mean, at this point, he's not even trying very fast. He's just like,
yep. I think that's where we'll leave it. Pastra has made contact with a dragon turtle, joined its mind for just a moment, and has been awed by what it found, by what Pastra found. This totem you now have on your that piece of leather is something that resonates very deeply with you, and
I think I might have to start considering multiclassing. I think druid might fit too.
yeah, that would be very interesting. And so as long as you have this piece on you, I'm going to say that this is what gets you up to level 5 as far as like sheet stuff goes. So if we play with this character again,
Oh wow, 5.
yeah, I want you to consider this
Okay.
character a level 5. Well, do you get
I'll
Be
have
Sense
to
at
play with how that.
3? No, you get Be Sense at 3. Let's say 3. We'll say 3 for now.
Okay.
With that piece.
I
Yeah.
might play with how that works out. I might have a better ability to do it if I just take a level of druid, which
Mhm.
I might end up doing.
Yeah.
But we'll at least bring him up to level 3.
Yeah, we'll say 3. That sounds
Sure.
good. With that totem, I find this very, very interesting, and there's a lot that we could do with this, right? Like there are tomes you could leave behind about studying it. You could maybe you lose a leg to it at some point or something because you get a little too close, and it is still essentially a dragon that wants to eat things. Maybe you become somebody that haunts the ports around, warning travelers of the greatness, and like it'd be kind of interesting to see how, like, which direction you would take this in. Like, do you play to the crazy and preach doom and gloom about the dragon turtle? Do you become obsessed with killing it so you can absorb its power? Do you become really driven to protect it? Like, there's all these things that you could do with it. I find very interesting. But yeah, I think that's where
That's
we'll
interesting.
leave it for a minute. When you started talking about thrill seeking and excitement and things that have never been seen before, I was like, well, there is a dragon turtle. So
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out a way to get you over there, and I wish I just skipped the part where you were around it. I think we could have played through that a lot more. Yeah. But like halfway through this, I was like, man, I introduced too big of a concept. So that's kind of interesting. Like, what do I do if I want to introduce a big concept? How do I boil it down? How do I skip all the stuff you wouldn't normally skip with a party? Like, you'd play through it with a party, you know? Like, how do I skip all the...
I mean, if it's cooperative storytelling, you figure out what the high points are and you
Yeah.
start connecting them. Be like, okay, so how does he get from point A to point B? Like, what's that look like? Is it important to zoom in on?
Do you want to do all the ship stuff? Do you want to play through all the stuff where you learn about it, like things like that?
I think the ship stuff really plays into how that continued, so I think that was good.
I think it worked out well. Yeah, I think in the future, when I do these, if I come, like, I think what it would be good is describe the character, and then have this is the big thing that I think would be interesting to play with. How do you want to approach this? Do you want to go straight to the big thing? Do you want to do some of the stuff leading up to it? Like, what's good? Might work.
I think some scene setting is a good idea,
Mm-hmm.
regardless.
Yep.
But yeah, if you're going to go after a bigger concept, especially if you already have a character, like if we revisit Pastra, we
Mhm.
might want to jump to bigger stuff rather than establishment.
Oh, for
just
sure. Yeah.
Because at this point, we kind of have an idea, and we won't need to necessarily show who he is as much.
Yeah, and it's interesting too if you think about it. Let's say Pastra joins an adventuring party at level 3, or even level 5. He's already met the dragon turtle at that point, and it's become a defining characteristic of him? How does he talk about that? And then when he's joined the party, typically when you're building characters and stuff, that's backstory. So we just played through part of what is essentially Pastra's backstory, which I find very interesting as well.
It's a pretty bitchin' backstory.
Yeah. Anyway, what do you think? That work okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of twisted my concept of Pastra a little bit, but not in a bad
sorry.
way.
I think it
Oh
was
no, it works
interesting,
out
though.
great. I think he does at this point fit somewhat into Druid, so that's going to be an interesting game out.
I think you could
possibility.
make an argument to leave it barbarian because of the totem stuff.
Yeah, and there is a lot of overlap in 5e of various things, but I'm gonna look at it. I don't know if it's I don't know if I'll go that direction, but I'm gonna at least check and see how it would interact.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be a good druid because I think they're wisdom based, and he's got like no wisdom.
It's true. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
But
Which
maybe
is,
he can be a barbarian that thinks he's druidish.
I mean, 10 isn't terrible. It's just not
It's not
good.
great for
Yeah.
a primary stat.
Right. No, it's not. Yeah. So this is kind of what I wanted to do, is just sort of like mess around with concepts, and I think we have accomplished that task for the day. I'm gonna wrap it up because I wanted to end by 1. We're about 10 minutes away from that. So can you share with me what you thought was the most interesting about the last couple hours?
In a particular way, or just like overall?
I think overall, I'm trying to think of a good like wrap up question. Normally in my sessions I ask for good role playing moments, and because it's just the two of us, that ends up feeling very self-serving. So I'm trying to think of another way to do that, because I think it's a nice way to end the session where it's like, oh, this was cool, and this was cool, and this was cool. And it's a nice way to start the next session to remind them of that coolness. So I'm not quite sure how to resolve these. So I was thinking, like, what's a good...
I really like that his essentially like failure on a couple of levels led to what would now be like his a character defining moment. Like that whole whoops, I just got kind of eaten led to this guy has kind of an epiphany.
Yes. And that was a really interesting moment for me as well, because it would have been really easy for me to just be like, you've been eaten.
And then like it's over, and we weren't that far off. That
No.
would have been
I could absolutely
fine.
have done that, and it would have been fine. And so what I thought was really interesting was that instead of panicking and being like, oh yeah, you're dead now, I was able to look at your sheet and be like, what could I use on here? What has this player told me over the last couple hours? What could I suggest that would make sense for this? How do I not end the story right here? And that was an interesting challenge, I think, at least for me.
Yeah, it shows that though in some cases character death can be a very interesting choice, I don't think it's a good one in most cases. You usually just complicate things and like you've got a better story.
Right. And I try not to murder my characters. I think the only time I'll actively agree to a straight up murder or a death even with failed death saves in any of my campaigns is if somebody's like, I would like to switch characters now, and I would like to kill this one off instead of having it wander into the sunset. I think that's
general agreement of epic death is still a very interesting story element.
Absolutely, but I want consent on that before I murder somebody's character. I had a group, and I sort of hand waved a piece, and it allowed another character to steal the soul of one of the. He was a visiting character. Was able to steal the soul of one of the persistent players, and the poor player was like, "What the hell do I do now?" And I could have very easily been like, roll a new character. That would have been easy, I could have, that's all, but instead I was like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to bring in this character's twin brother? Who's avenging his death? Do you want to have the group try and go off and recover your soul and have you be sort of like an advisor on that? Do you want to just pick up where we left? Like, do you want me to just give you your soul back in 5 seconds? Like, what would you like to, what's the most interesting story to you? And we came to an agreement and we played through it, and it was very interesting, but it could have been super frustrating. And that's never what's fun for me about this. And one of the reasons I'm doing these Brunches and Dragons is to find more ways that I can find more interesting story hooks instead of being like, well, the rules say you're dead.
I played a one-off for Gen Con like a couple of days ago. It started. We were immediately in combat. I swung once. The bad guy swung at me, and it was like a double 20. I should have died. It's
Right.
like, well, that would be rough.
Yep.
Just like, turn 1, like, second person goes, double crit. You're like, oh boy, this is gonna be complicated.
And I think it takes a fairly good. I think it takes a piece of your brain to say, I'm going to do something interesting with this, rather than sort of black and white, so making it more gray. I think it's...
Yeah, you have to step away from the rules a bit and be like, well, that would be not that interesting.
Right. Yeah.
What else could we do?
And one of the things that I've been doing lately that I don't love is that I will just do more hand-wavy bullshit and be like, well, I've decided that you can speak to this dragon turtle and therefore you can. And that can be interesting, but when you do it too much, it's not as interesting. And that's why I was looking at your sheet. Like, what on your sheet gives me the excuse that I want? And I was able to find it. And if I wasn't able to find it, maybe I would have done some hand-wavy bullshit, or maybe I would have asked... I probably would have asked, like, how can we make... I want this to happen. How do you think we can make that happen?
So, yes and no. I think if you start, custom tweaking, like, hand-wavy bullshit is fine, but you have to kind of, like, work it back in. Be like,
Yes.
Okay, so you can do this. Let's figure out why.
Yes.
And then tie that into something, and that's special now. It's not like... that's a feature of blah blah blah. Like, no, this is because of X, Y, or Z, and now I have a way to take it away if I want.
Yeah, so like if you ever lose this totem piece, that all goes away, kind of thing. And I think that's what I'm learning to balance is yes, I can do hand wavy bullshit, but yes, the rules are there as well to both help me with my hand wavy bullshit and let you tie it back to something that's more concrete than hand wavy bullshit.
Little back and forth, yeah.
Helpful. Yeah, so I hope you had fun today. I'm getting thumbs up, that's great. So let's roll into the where people can find us. So I will be back online on Tuesday with Treasure Tuesday, which is also where you will be able to find this player again, playing the role of Harlock. I think we're good for Tuesday. Yeah, I think we're back on Tuesday. And then after that, you'll see me again on next Saturday and next Sunday. It's possible I will be guesting on a stream this Wednesday, but I'm not positive. I haven't ironed out the details yet. It'll be somebody else's stream. If that's the case, I'll talk about it on Twitter. So you can follow me at Like7Spoon and watch me tweet about kittens and dogs and D&D. Every other stream that I do ends up having D&D rolled in, even if I'm playing like Overwatch or whatever. I end up talking about D&D. So yeah. But where can they find you, sir? Do you want to be found?
I don't have much of an online presence, if
Yeah.
I'm real honest.
Well, that's totally fine. You do not have to have an online presence. That's completely fine.
I have an email, but like I don't necessarily need a bunch of
Don't give the internet that. No. I'm going to put this on YouTube. Do not. No. Bad. So how about we say this? You can find this gentleman here back online on Tuesday on this stream on hashtag Treasure Tuesday D&D. All right. That sounds good. Well, I think that's about it. Are we ready to say bye, stream? You got anything else?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, on three. 1, 2, 3. Bye, stream.